brew. So we're back in the workshop and I've decided I am actually going to make a little video out of me making a frame for my little Triton project. I decided that I thought I wasn't going to make a video for this purely because I've never made a frame before. It was going to be all experimental. I was all going to have to learn everything, but you know what? I thought why not put in a little video. So you've already seen that I have already made one side of the top tube of the frame. So how I've got to this point so far is I've worked out roughly what frame dimensions I'm going to go for. So I've gotten pretty close. Within that I've worked out the head tube angle. So head tube angle and height, which I actually welded this post to my bench. So I've got my headstock holder in place, ready to go. So everything else is going to be bolted around that. So now we need to start bending and reforming the second piece of frame for this top tube. So let's mark out the angle on the top tube and then we will use the new bender. A few nice bits of B-roll footage for you there. I've just stolen my partner's fancy pants camera, so having a bit of fun playing with that in a minute. Hence why the videos on my Instagram have got a lot better recently. So yeah, now we're going to move on to marking up this bit of tube and then hopefully crossing it over and getting it almost as perfectly symmetrical as we can. Yeah, so let's get measuring and bending. Battery's died in my vernier, so I'm sharing a battery with my digital angle gauge. Right, so that's that first bend marked out. This is the most simple one. Angle doesn't make any difference. All I've got to do is put a bend in the right place on a bit of tube. So I've marked out. You can see there's 3 score marks out of focus on the camera. So there is, I've highlighted them in pen and then scored through the pen just so they stand out a bit better on the tube. So what I'll do is I will work out what bend I want, the radius. This is a 45. So I know my bend radius. I then either start from the start of the curve or the centre of the curve when I'm marking. Usually I like working from the centres because it's good for distances between the arcs. And then I find where I want the arc to start, a bit of maths. If you can do an arc length calculation, you can just work out how much pipe you're going to need, and then you work out the next point along there. And then the next bit is I have to work out from my tube bender how much is lost in the tube. I don't know what the correct terminology for this is, but what I've found is I use the start face of the die to start my bend, and then from that point I then work out how much straight section is in the actual die. So this one is 18mm, is the closest I can measure it at from the test piece. So basically I've got my start curve, I then measure 18mm past that, and that is where I line up the bend on my die. That basically just equates for this very small 18mm straight section in the die so I can get the bend as accurately as I can. So that's why I always measure out multiple marks on the die. So from that we can then work out where the end point of this bend is going to be. I'll then also mark that so I can take the measurement for the next bend. So yeah, now just put it in the machine and get it started. Need my extension for this. So what I've just been doing there is marking the angle of the bend on the second tube. As you can see, this bend is not straight. That angle is actually 14 degrees. So where that comes from is this top tube has a lift of 4.5 and this one of 9. So you add them together 14 and see where we get. So what I've done is the nose has been lifted to 14 degrees. Then what I've done is measured the distance between the two bends, put the mark down on the tube, and then I used my engineer's blue, put engineer's blue across the top, and then when it dried, with another horizontal level, scrape the top layer off. What that scraping does is then gives you the centre of the tube at the top at that 14 degrees. So then I know where 14 degrees is. I can also measure it on the tube bender, which I will do to double check it. I can check it against the tube bender, so I'll do that as well, make sure I'm happy with it, and then you'll get the bend nice and symmetrical into this. Is that right? No, that's not right. No, that's not right at all. Yeah, that is right. That is right. I think. I'm sure. So this is what we ended up with. 2 top tube rails, nice and symmetrical and even. So next thing on the list to do is use these, which are bar clamps or tube clamps. So I've got a box of these, and I'm going to weld 2 together at the right distance so I can hold the frame along at different points, hold it nice and square. They'll be used while welding and also when offering up and measuring and still trying to work out the exact dimensions. I know roughly what I'm going for, but to get the exact dimensions I'll be using these to offer up and measure up on my jig. So let's get some of these made. So that's the new frame clamp made. This is the first one of 2 for this top section. Going to make another one which is a bit wider to hold the bottom of the tube. Next 2 jobs are to notch the head tube, so it's going to sit flushly around the headstock, and then cut the tubes to length. So this one we know is about 20mm too long, so a bit off the top, bit off the back. Then we can get this top section assembled. That's it for this video. I'm going to crack on, get these notched out ready for the top tube, and in the next video I will do the bottom half assembly and also get it assembled around the frame and get the rough shape worked out. So come back and check out that next time. Thanks for watching. See you again.